Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for another Journaling on a Budget video. Today we are going to make a flower window flip for our journals. This would also make a really pretty card front or a pretty technique to use in some mixed media. But what I've done is I've just encased some flowers behind acetate, and then it's on a solid piece of cardstock so you can journal on the back, and we'll put this in our book as a flip. So I'm going to show you how I did this. It's really quite simple, and you're just going to need some artificial flowers and some paper and some glue, and some little flatback pearls or something like that. So the first thing is I just took a piece of paper. I'm going to actually cut it straight. And this is 5 inches wide, but it can be any width that you want it to be. Just remembering it has to fit. It has to fit on your background with a little bit of extra around so that you can glue it down. So you want it to be smaller than that. And then I'm just going to take this and fold it in half. And that's just because I want the book page behind my flowers. If you don't want the book page behind your flowers, you can put any type of scrapbooking paper or your homemade painty paper. Anything will work. So you just need a piece of paper to glue your flowers to. That's going to be approximately the size of your window. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run just a little bit of stick glue on here and just glue that together just so it's a little more solid, but it's going to be encased so it really doesn't matter. You don't have to even glue it if you don't want to. And then we're just going to, I have some artificial flowers here, so I am just going to pull off the plastic parts so that we just have just the flower part. And these are just flowers that I got at the Dollar Tree or at garage sales. You know, I don't spend much for artificial flowers. I never use them the way they come. So this one's got a cute little stamen on there. That's cute. Let's get this plastic bit out of the middle. This one's got a few extra plastic pieces on it. Take the petals off. We're definitely not going to need this many, but I'm going to separate the whole thing while I'm at it. There we go. So, and you can make this bigger. I wanted mine to fit in the book, and I wanted to have a little bit of edging on it. So this is as big as I would want to go. These are actually bigger flowers, but they're going to fit in the same amount of space because we're still going to block them off. And then you're just going to lay it out. Like I've got the pink up there. I really like that little stamen that's on there, so I'm going to leave that on there, but I'm going to move my pink out of the way so that my pinks aren't right next to each other. I'm just going to you just lay them around until you find a design that you like. And layer it up as much as you want to. So maybe put a couple of daisies in here, or maybe just one daisy. This is upside down. And so is this one. Well, that looks better. I'll put this pink over here. Okay, so then, let's see. And they don't have to be totally centered up and down. You can kind of offset them a little bit, like here I kind of offset the daisies like that. So, and then I like to have just one smaller flower in the center. I want some white ones on here. Maybe another pink one. Let's put this pink one up here, and this white one here, and this white one here. And then, do I want any more? Maybe I want a little white one right in there. And right there. Okay, and that's the hardest part, is just figuring out where you're going to want to put your flowers at. At least for me it is. Always the design part is the hard part for me. And they can hang off the edges. They'll be a little bit covered, but that's okay. right, so that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to just glue them down with Fabri-Tac. I'm using Fabri-Tac because it works quick. It sticks quick for my videos. But if you don't have Fabri-Tac, you can by all means use, what do you call it? Yeah. I don't want to leave it stick up too far to the top, over the top, because we're going to have to glue the acetate down. And so I want to glue to the backing paper that we're going to put behind there. And I'm going to actually not put that one on there. Move this one. So yeah, you can use tacky glue for this. You don't have to use the Fabri-Tac. And then you want to let them dry before you stick them in your book. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. The glue's not that wet. So let's see, we had a white one at the top. I think, maybe. No, I think the white one was actually right there. And then once these get behind the acetate, that also helps hold them in place. Put this daisy on here. But I just think they're really cute. You don't have to do it with flowers. You can do it with anything that you think that you'd like to have behind the acetate. So you could do it with die cuts. You can do it with just anything that's going to be kind of flat, but it doesn't have to be super flat. If you're going to put it in a book, you don't want it to be too thick. But I did put the flat back pearls on here. I was going to just punch some glitter cardstock for the center so that it would be flat. But when I held the acetate up to it, I didn't like how flat it was. I wanted it to be a little bit more dimensional. I wanted the acetate to stick up just a little bit. And I thought about putting foam pads behind it, which you could do that too. But that one goes there. But I really didn't want the foam tape to show, and I didn't want it that thick because this is going to go in our journal. Now, if you were doing this as mixed media or on the front of a card, you could make it as thick as you want. You could build this way up and put foam pads around it instead of gluing around the edge of the acetate, and that would look really pretty on the front of a card. So, and it just kind of makes it so you're looking through a window. Excuse me. All right, I think I want a little white one over here, just because it's really plain right there, and I think that will do it. I don't want to get too carried away. Strings from the Fabri-Tac. Oh yeah, we'll put it right there by that little stamen that's sticking up. Okay, so now we're just going to grab some flat back pearls. And I just kind of thought that I have silver colored here. And I thought they kind of looked nice with the purple. I like silver and purple together. Or silver and gray. And I'm going to use my tacky glue to put the pearls on, just because the Fabri-Tac is so stringy that it's just hard to... I'm just going to put them all down, and then I'll go press them down after I get them all on here. But yeah, I just didn't want to deal with the strings from the Fabri-Tac. And like I said, the acetate's going to hold it all down too. So you want to use a glue that you know is gonna hold it. But tacky glue does a pretty good job of holding things. And it's not as messy as the Fabri-Tac is. Yeah, my hands are a little bit shaky today. Couldn't quite get that where I wanted it. There we go. Okay. So there we go. I'm just going to start at the top. Just give them all a press. Trying not to get the glue on the top of the... Oh, pulled that one right off. I don't want to get glue on the top of the pearl. I'll do another one. Because when you do, then it takes the shine. It doesn't really take the shine away, but it covers it up because the glue dries matte. And so then it makes your pearl not shiny anymore. So there we go. This one's got a lot of glue on it, so I'm just going to grab a paper towel and just kind of pat around the edges. There we go. A little bit more right there. And there we go. So that's what our little flower piece looks like. Now we're going to set that aside for just a second. And then the acetate that I have is just a piece of packaging off of something that I had bought. Whenever I buy anything that has clear plastic on it that's flat, I just cut it off, just roughly cut it off. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I don't save the whole packaging because all of those big bulky edges, they don't fit together well, and you know, and they just take up so much storage space. So if you just cut your acetate just into flat sheets and just stick them somewhere, they store so much better. I have to find my acetate. Here it is. Okay, make sure that you just clean your acetate. Now, sometimes your acetate might have a little scratch or a little mark or something because it was packaging. But once you get it on the flowers, it's not going to show up anyways. So don't worry about that. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to buy brand new acetate. And okay, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to stick this in the center of this cardstock. Now this cardstock is, let's see, I'm just measuring it here. This is 8.5 inches long. I'm going to cut this down to fit in my book when I'm done, but I want to make sure that I have enough coverage. And so this was a square out of my scrap box. I didn't even cut it at all. It's just a piece I had left over. So I'm going to glue this down to a piece of cardstock. And like I said, you just want a piece of cardstock that's a little bigger than your book. And that way you can trim it up and make it nice and square when you're done. Okay, so we're going to put that on there. And then we have our acetate, which is here. Now our acetate is, I'm just using this as a ruler because I didn't bring one. This is just under 4 inches by 8 1/4. So it's wide enough to cover our area here. And it's not quite as long as our paper, but we're going to trim it down, and it doesn't matter, we're going to glue around it anyways. But now I just got fingerprints all over it because I put lotion on my hands, so they're greasy fingerprints. I need to just wiping those off because they will show up. There we go. So that looks good. So I have a piece of acetate that's big enough, and I want to make sure that wherever I'm going to decide to cut my flowers, that I have acetate, or cut my outside frame, however big I'm going to cut my frame, has to be a smaller opening than the width of my acetate, so that we're going to catch this down, and then the paper will cover it up where we put the glue on the acetate. So I'm going to put the glue on the acetate right now. And like I said, it just needs to be big enough that you can put a little bit of paper over the edge and still not cover up your flowers. So you don't want it to be as wide as your flowers, because otherwise when you put the paper over the edge, you're going to cover up your flowers. I'm going to set this here. And then the Fabri-Tac works pretty good holding down the acetate, but it likes to squash. So I usually just kind of tap down the top, tap down the bottom, and let it sit for just a second, and then let these sides get a little bit tacky. And when you press on it, press out this way or this way. Don't press towards your flowers, or that glue will move that way. and you don't want to see the glue. Okay, we're going to let that dry for just a second while I grab a ruler. Okay, so I have a ruler, and I'm going to just kind of press out. If you get glue on your fingers, wipe it off. You don't want to get it on the outside of your plastic, at least not towards your flowers. And there we go. Now that's really pretty. And you actually could just put lace around here to cover the glue on the acetate, and that would look really pretty too. You don't have to cover it with paper. So I am just going to, I'm going to cut this paper down. This was just another piece in my scrap box. And I'm going to cut it down to about the same size as my purple piece here. So that, and I'm going to have to do it to start with a pair of scissors because it won't fit in my trimmer. I love this trimmer, but it's only 9 inches long, so it won't cut a 12-inch piece of paper. Let me set that aside for a second. I'm going to cut this side where I hand cut it just to make sure that it's straight, although it doesn't really make any difference. Okay, now we have this approximately the size of our paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure. My acetate is not quite 4 inches. So I'm going to want to come in. I'm looking at my flowers behind my ruler. I'm going to come in I'm going to come in 3/8. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come in 3/8 on each side. That will just cover my petals, but it will leave a little bit of the purple showing behind our window. So all right, I hate measuring. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's find just the center of the page. Okay, this is 7 1/4, so 3 1/2 and 1/8. 3 1/2 and 1/8. That's center right there. 3 1/2 and 1/8. Okay, this is the center of my paper. I'm going to put a line that I can use. This is the back of my paper, so we're not going to see it. Now I can measure each way on each side of that. All right, so if I come in 3/8 of an inch, just over 1/4 of an inch. Oh, okay, it's going to be 2 inches that way, 2 inches that way, minus 3/8 of an inch. So there's 2 inches. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm 3/8 of an inch less than 2. And that is right on the 1 1/2 plus 1/8. My husband hates it when I do that. He's like, how big is it? It's 1 1/2 and 1/8. And he's like, okay, that's 1 5/8. No, it's 1 1/2 and 1/8. Or I say 1 1/2 and 1 little mark. That really gets him. And normally I make 3 marks to measure, but this time I'm just going to do 2. Okay. Now, here's the size. This is the height of our paper, and we're going to make this the height of our paper. So I'm going to just come in 1/2 an inch and 1/2 an inch, excuse me, from the top and the bottom, so that we will have a little bit of an edge there. And do the same on the bottom, just come in a 1/2 inch. And basically I'm just making a window that's big enough to cover our acetate. So you can do that however it works for you. Like I said, teaching you how to measure is not my strong point. I normally don't measure things, but in this case, I need it to fit over top of those flowers, so I needed to measure it. Okay, so there we go. Now this window is going to fit over top of our flowers, and I'm going to hold this up here like this, and I'm going to look at these 2 lines that are going to be cut, and I'm going to look at my acetate, and I'm going to make sure that these lines will cover my acetate a little bit, and they will. And I'm going to hold it this way, and I'm going to look at this line and make sure that my acetate is that it will cover. Look at this line, make sure that it will cover, and it will. So we're good there. Excuse me. And I'm just going to not fold it tight, but I'm just going to fold my paper so I can get into the center. And I'm just going to cut out to that line. And I'm going to do this carefully because this is the edge of my window, so I want it to look nice. And I'm just going to cut all the way around on those lines so that we have our window. It didn't cut quite far enough. You can do this with your X-Acto knife and a cutting mat. Some people do it with their roller trimmers or rotary trimmers. You can't cut it with a guillotine, which is the type of trimmer that I had right over here, because it won't cut something out of the center. But the ones where you can just roll it across like that, you can kind of pick that, put it in the middle on your line, and roll back and forth, just making sure that you don't cut past your corner, and then use your scissors to cut out the corner, because you can't quite get to the corner, I don't think. Actually, if you're good at it, you probably could. You need to go just a little bit further. And we're almost there. I can't cut and talk at the same time. There we go. I was trying to get that so that I didn't have a big extra mark there. And there we go. Now that's going to sit on there like that. Now we can adjust it back and forth, up and down, however we need to, because we are going to trim the edges. So, you know, even though these papers are about the same size, I don't have to do it exactly like this. If I think I need to move it up a little bit or move it down a little bit, I can do that. Okay. I like the way that that looks, so we're ready to glue it down. Again, I'm just going to use the Fabri-Tac because it's quick. Now, the only thing is that I do the outside edges and the extra bits. I really should not have that under there with how stringy this gets. I don't want to get a string across my acetate. That would be hard to clean off. Okay, put some in here and here. Unstick my pin. And now I'm going to go along the inside edges, and then I'm going to rub that in so that it does not squish out onto my acetate. No matter what kind of glue you use, you don't want it to get on your acetate and show. I'm just going to smooth what's next to the window. Smooth that out. Trying to bring it right into the edge. And I don't have any down here. Or there. Or there. It's quite sticky. Okay, now I'm going to pick it up and make sure I don't have any strings across my little window, and I don't. So we'll bring this back in. I think I have it upside down. Like there really is a right side up and an upside down. Now, this is where you want to be careful. That's why we kind of looked at it beforehand to see where we were going to put it. Because once you put this down, you don't really want to move it. Once it's touched your acetate, you want to be careful that your glue hasn't touched the acetate if you want to move it, because you don't want to get that glue on your acetate. If you had to clean it, you probably could. It just would be, it's hard to clean glue off of something that's shiny like that. And there we go. We now have the whole thing put together, and all we need to do is cut it down to fit in our book. So I'm going to grab my trimmer again, and I'm going to see how wide this one is, because this one fits in my book well. This one is 5 1/4 by 8 1/2. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. And I know what I did on my other one, although I'm not so sure if my windows are the same size. I lined it up with my blue mark that I had. I lined the edge of the window up with that blue mark. And that blue mark is, first I need to cut off the top. I need to find a place that's nice. This has a straight edge, so we're going to cut that edge off first. Or we're going to use that to cut first. I'm going to line that up with the blue mark on both sides. Then I know that both sides will be the same past the window. Alrighty, let's do this right. This is the side that we just cut. So now I'm just going to go trim the top just a little bit. Just to make sure that it's straight. Now I can cut this side. Always make sure that whatever you're using across to your top, make sure that that is a straight edge to keep everything straight. I'm lining up with that little blue mark. Well, those are for the T cards. That's what the blue mark is for. And then I'm just going to put this on here and just trim off just the slightest bit, just to get rid of the little extra purple I had sitting there. And now it winds up being just about 8 1/2. And I'm way wider than 5 1/4. I have to trim it down because it will not fit in my book if it's this big. So now I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to line up the edge of my paper. Just trying to think how I want to cut it. I'm going to come this way. No, I'm not. Well, I could measure it. I want it to be about 5 1/4 inches. There's 5 1/4. And take about 1/2 inch off each side. And I'm going to eyeball it. That's about 1/2 inch. And that is the edge of my window just under the 1 inch mark. So that's what I'm going to do. The edge of my window just under the 1 inch mark. And it's now just over 5 inches. So there we go. There's our page. It's complete. It has a nice back to write on. And then all we need to do is put it in our book. And I know I said that I was going to start putting things in the book like that we had already made. But I had this idea and tried it, and it worked so cool this morning that that's what I wanted to do this. But we'll put it in the book. So we're going to just have to find a place where we think we would like it. Now we've got on the other side of this, we've got something big, so I don't want to put it there. And I'm going to go to the center signature. Oh, the glue is awful. All right. Let's see here. Trying to see where we think that this would look good. These are finished. I don't want it right next to this shade because that's already there, and that's pretty bright. I could go here and then flip out. That doesn't look too bad. don't want it next to this. And those pages are done. I don't think I want it next to that. Oh, it would look nice there. Or here. I like it with that one. That's got a lot going on, so we don't really need it there. Oh, what about there? I think I like it there. This is not too distracting. Yeah, I think that that's where I like it, so that's where I'm going to put it. Now it's as tall as our book, and we're not too close to the center. You don't want to ever get too close to the center with anything that's going to flip or anything, because it could start getting bent if your pages move a little bit or something. And I'm going to hook it on with washi tape, and I got this on like extra clearance at Michael's. I think I paid $2 for it. Do I want that one or this one? And I like them both, but this one's wider, so I'm going to use this one. Move our book out of the way. If I can figure out where to get it started, it looks like it starts right there. Oh, there it is. Take that piece off and use that later. Excuse me. I want the purple side or the pink side. I think I like the purple side. And I'm going to go past the edges of my page. I'm going to run a little bit of stick glue down here just to make sure that it sticks. You can also put it right on your tape. So I'm going to put that on there like that. Give it a good press. And I like to leave it hang out over both ends. Then when I'm done, I can trim it off how I need it. Okay, so this is going to go on here. I'm going to flip over to the back of this page. So I'm going to put some glue on here. I want something underneath of it so that I don't get it on the book. Here we go. Line this up. Oh, and I'm glad that I chose it the way I did because I like the pink on this side. Got a little wrinkle right there. I'm just going to furnish that down. And now really make sure that we stick that glue and tape together. Oops. Okay, so we've got it taped in on this side, and then when you turn the page, this is what you have. You have a beautiful journaling spot here. We could put something here, or we could leave that for a journaling spot, or I like to leave some plain pages for where people could put pictures or just add anything in that they want to put in there. So, but it has a really nice look the way it is, and then you can open it up and you can decide what you'd like to put there. I really like it. I think that that turned out really pretty. And I really do appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of your support. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.